Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. Consumer Reports has their latest best and worst ISPs list out. I'll take a look at some of those details in just a moment. Hey there, Rick Husey with Broadband Deployment News. So I want to take a look at this. I want to look at some of the summary data that we see here from Consumer Reports. They do a best and worst ISPs list every year, and I'm not a subscriber currently, so I can't look at all of the details, and even if I was, I'm sure I couldn't share the details. That would be reserved for subscribers, but they do have an article up here that I posted to that I'll link down in the description of the video on what they found as far as some overall summary kind of information. And you can see here, people have lots of complaints about the biggest ISPs, such as Cox, Spectrum, Optimum, and XFinity, but some smaller ISPs earn top scores in CR's ratings. And that's not surprising. The big providers do tend to get dinged. A lot of times that's because they're kind of the faceless, huge corporation that's providing internet service, so they're not local to you. A lot of times there's, maybe not even a local office, so you're getting service, or an office that close to you. So you're getting service from, again, a big corporation. They tend to a lot of times outsource support, maybe to overseas support groups. So if you have to call, you might have some issues there getting assistance or being able to talk to somebody that you got a good connection or can understand. So they're going to tend a lot of times to get the lowest scores. And then on the reverse, you've got smaller ISPs that tend to get some of the higher scores because of the opposite reasons. They're in the community, so they live, work, and play there with everyone else. So they go to church with their customers. They see them there. They see them at the grocery store, the golf course, whatever. So they're running into their customers all the time. So they're motivated to give them good service. Plus, they live in the community. They want to make sure they probably use the service themselves. So they're eating their own dog food, as they say. And if there's a problem, the employees are going to notice it, and they're going to want it fixed for their own reasons, as well as, again, these are their friends and folks, community members that are having the same service. So you can understand that being the case. And also in here, you'll see that fiber gets the highest scores would be expected. So let's take a look at some of the summary information here that we have. So when Consumer Reports asked its members for feedback on their internet plans, more than half of the internet service providers were given unfavorable or worse ratings for overall satisfaction, and the majority earned our worst marks for value. In fact, just a handful of ISPs received stellar ratings for value. That's what we found in previous surveys too, and it's a big pain point for many people. In earlier customer or consumer report surveys, an overwhelming majority of CR members, 84%, at last tally, agreed that web access is now as important as electricity or water service. And it's been interesting. I've been in this business, with Zecorum, even prior to the company being called Zecorum. We were an internet service provider in Atlanta, and I've watched the progress over the years. And it did go from internet was a novelty that a lot of people didn't know about to now you've got utility companies, maybe electric companies, telephone companies, cable companies, where the internet's the important thing. It used to be if the power went out, people weren't happy. Because the power went out. Now if the power goes out, they're not happy because they can't get their internet access. And maybe they can't get their TV because they're streaming their TV service over the internet. And they can't use maybe the phone service if they got VoIP, that kind of thing. So internet is by far, I think, the most important thing to people now. Of course, if the power stays out for a long time and your food starts to spoil and suddenly you're realizing I have no lights and those kinds of things, that's different. But as far as short-term outages, internet is very important to people. Some bright spots emerged from our most recent survey, which received responses from more than 48,000 CR members. Most respondents said their internet service is very good to excellent, and their service relatively reliable. So that's good. So that means even these large providers, their service is reliable. So that tends to make me think that it's other things like maybe billing, pricing, as we saw, getting access to technical support that can be taking down some of the scores. And again, just sometimes just the unfortunate reputation that big companies have. In fact, their median broadband speed has nearly doubled from 173 megabits per second to 304 megabits per second from what they reported in our previous survey back in 2022. So that's good news. So speeds have gone up. People are relatively happy with the connection of their service. Many people, though, are paying more. The median price of broadband service in 2024 was $85. a $9 a month increase from 2022. And that's not that surprising considering how much everything's gone up in cost, the cost of everything. So when you've got inflation, that's going to make the cost of doing business more expensive, and that's going to make providers of that business raise your rates. Unfortunately, that's why it's inflation. The survey was used to generate CR's ratings of home internet service providers. You see here available month to members, which currently include more than 40 ISPs. So if you want access to this, I guess you'd have to join Consumer Reports. Then you could get the magazine and get their online stuff. Best and worst ISPs in general, fiber optic internet service providers received higher overall satisfaction scores than cable internet providers, with DSL lagging further behind. And surprisingly, as we look at the numbers here, cable did not do well at all. I'll have some thoughts about that. We've observed consistent dissatisfaction among CR members in recent years when it comes to their telecommunications services. And internet service is no exception, says Tian Wang, Senior Survey Research Associate at CR. In fact, telecommunications services are some of the least popular of all services that CR members help us to rate. And again, a lot of that may be the cable guy kind of idea that people they think the cable company isn't doing a good job. And, a lot of that had to do with if they're coming out to the home, do they let you know when they're coming out? Do they really come out if they say they're going to come out? Do they give you a window that's 6 hours long? Those kinds of things. But some providers do have happy customers. Greenlight Networks, EPB, that's Chattanooga, Allo Fiber, Google Fiber, GoNet Speed, and Sonic all had overall satisfaction scores that landed in our top ratings tier, as well as favorable or higher overall scores for value. Greenlight Network serves municipalities in the Rochester, Buffalo, Binghamton, and Albany, New York areas. So they may be a company that's working with those municipalities, taking on the building of the networks and providing the service. Could be an open access network, I'm not sure, but they get high marks. EPB is Chattanooga, Tennessee's municipal broadband service. They've been in the business forever, providing fast internet to people of Chattanooga at a reasonable price. So it's not surprised that they get very high marks. Allo Fiber is in 24 cities throughout Arizona, Colorado, and Nebraska, while Google Fiber now serves more than 45 cities in 19 states. So again, fiber is going to get rated high. And then you've got a lot of these are early, again, Chattanooga's been doing this for a long time. You've got Google Fiber. When Google Fiber would come in, they would be, coming in with a brand new service for a lot of people that didn't have good internet before. And that always leaves a good taste in people's mouth. And it's hard to, they start out having people very happy with them. So it's hard to lose that loyalty unless you're really bad. So these guys are providing good service, and then they must provide good customer support to some extent to keep those people happy. GoNet Speed is available in 6 northeastern states, plus Alabama and Missouri. Sonic is the largest independent ISP in Northern California. And obviously with 45,000 Consumer Reports subscribers, they may not have enough information to score. It could be they had, from the look of it, they had 40 or 41 or something like that ISPs that they can score, but not mentioned in here would be a lot of smaller ISPs that may serve a single town or small part of a state that I'm thinking really even just the small towns, lots of independent cable companies or independent telephone companies that maybe don't have enough subscribers that answer the survey that they might not be ranked, but they tend to also get high ratings because of the fact, again, that they are community-based, they live and work and play in that community, and they are very motivated to provide good service to their friends and family members in that community. 5 additional internet providers earned favorable overall scores. Shentel, that's a smaller operator, provider located in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. And when I say smaller, I mean, it's not like a national provider or even not much of a regional provider, really. So Shentel was the only one in the group to earn top scores for speed, reliability, and technical support. And technical support, I want to mention something about that because that is a big determining factor for people as far as their satisfaction with the service. So if you're an internet service provider and happen to be watching this, then and you are struggling with tech support, whether that is providing it reasonably, if you're having a hard time keeping enough support reps and being able to keep your prices down, because if you're trying to provide good technical support, that can raise your costs because You've got to have more people there taking calls, and your calls are going to tend to be a little bit longer because you're trying to make sure people's calls are resolved. You're not just trying to rush them off the phone. So if you need help with that, check us out. Go to zquorum.com. I'll put our info up here just for a moment. So you see our web address and our email address there, our phone number. So check us out and give us a call if you need some help there, because we can provide that. And what you tend to find, here again, it says a lot of people are happy with their connection, the reliability of their service. But if they are having a problem and they need to call somebody, and again, if there's a long hold time, or if they get a call center in another country, a lot of times there's just you don't have native English speakers there if you're an English service provider. Plus, a lot of times the connection's bad. You've got somebody who, again, there's a bit of an accent. Sometimes they could have no accent at all, but the connection's bad, so you're having a hard time understanding. So just something to be aware of, that we can help you with that, because that is quite often a big determining factor as to whether somebody's happy. Because if they don't ever have to call at all, then maybe they don't realize the technical support's not good. But it's not just about the connection. They may be calling about, how do I do this? How do I get my iPhone connected? Or I need to reset something on my router. How do I do that? I've got a virus. Can you help me with that? How do I set up my home internet network, or how do I connect my printer so I can print? And that may not sound like ISP service questions, but it is, and we treat it that way. We can provide those kinds of services when we provide internet support. We can provide a premium service where people can get help with their Wi-Fi service, help with, how do I connect my printer? Stuff like that, because people look to their internet provider for that. You could go ahead and refer them to the webpage of the printer manufacturer, to the printer company, but if you get them on the phone and you can provide a good phone conversation and get them connected and resolve their issue, they are going to remember that. And if you shuffle them off to somebody else and then they hit let's say they have bad support, the printer company has bad support, something like that, then they have a bad taste in their mouth with both of you. So anyway, just something to be aware of that. A lot of times people are calling for other reasons other than their connection. A lot of times it's their Wi-Fi network, and it might not be your router. That's another thing, is we can help people even if it's not your router. If it's I can't remember the router names that I used to use years ago, but if it's a router that they buy at Best Buy or something like that, if it's a standard kind of router, we probably support it. And that's the kind of thing where, again, they don't want to hear, oh, that's not our router, we can't help you. They want to hear, I can help you, and here's what you need to do. So anyway, just keep that in mind. All the others, Hotwire Communications, which serves Florida and the Carolinas, telecom company T-Mobile, Metronet, which serves customers throughout much of the Midwest and South, and Starlink, SpaceX's newer satellite service, all had favorable scores or higher for speed and reliability. And again, SpaceX, not the fastest, but way faster than what somebody has before they get Starlink, the Starlink service. So generally, they're coming out of a situation where they've got slow DSL service, something like that, and maybe not good, certain, maybe not reliable, and then they get Starlink, and it's like, wow, this is way better, way faster. So that's another example of why people would be very high on satisfaction scores with somebody like SpaceX, where the price is really high. They're not really happy about what they're paying, but they like the fact that they can get very, very good internet service, reliable, and good speed, much higher than they were used to, even though they don't like the price. So all except for Starlink did well for tech support. That's interesting. Starlink does not get high scores for tech support, but I think people are so happy that they can get internet, they're getting a little bit of grace there, because again, there's no other option, and they came over from a situation where they had terrible internet. Now they at least have a good connection. They can't call and get good technical support, but at least they have a good connection, and that won't remain that way. If they continue to get bad support from Starlink, and then another provider comes in, if another provider comes in, they're going to probably leave anyway, because the prices are just not going to. Nobody would stay with Starlink if they could get a service like fiber or even cable modem service. Most likely, if they can get the prices way down and still get reasonable service. So that's Starlink's play is the area where there's nothing else available. But fixed wireless could be a competitor in areas, so they need to make sure they're getting their technical support up to speed. And then all except for Metronet and Starlink had favorable scores for value. And again, that's an issue with Starlink is their prices are so high. And I wanted to take a look at that, it's higher than it was before. So they've seen some price increases too. You see here there's service plans, and you've got residential, best for a household. So you can see this is at $120 a month now. It started out under $100, and then I remember it went up to $100. I think it was under $100. Then it went up to $100. You had introductory prices. Now it's $120. And that's for their residential. And they got their roaming. If you've got a like an RV or something, and you can take it with you, and you can do your roaming thing. Then you've got boats, those kinds of things. But I mean, this is what most people are getting here at $120. And you got your base station that's $500, so that's not cheap either. So you can see why for value they are dinged there. This Metronet I don't understand, because I was looking at Metronet's plans. I had to pick a home that was in their service area to see what the pricing might be. And I also found something on just on the web that was in general, and the prices were pretty much the same here. So you see 100 meg for $40. It's not bad. 500 megs for $50, and then a gig for $60. And then they've got a gig for $70, and the difference is on the $70 one you get a $100 Amazon gift card and a 2-year internet price lock, plus their whole home Wi-Fi. On this one you just get the 6-month internet price lock, and it looks like you don't get the whole home Wi-Fi. So that whole home Wi-Fi is probably their internet router and maybe an extender or something like that they throw in for an extra $10 a month. So that's really good pricing, I think. If you want to just get your own router and it's $60 a month, that's good for a gig. And even $70 a month is not bad for a gig either. I mean, I think I pay $80 where I am here. So this is decent pricing. So I'm not sure why they did not get a good score for value. Now we got connection types here, and I want to pull up a slide here because I went ahead and combined these figures so I could get an idea of what the overall satisfied and unsatisfied is for each of these. So you can see down at the bottom here, you've got 6 different categories, from completely satisfied to very satisfied. Those are really good, obviously. Somewhat satisfied is kind of like, it's not bad. Somewhat dissatisfied is meh. Then you got very dissatisfied and completely dissatisfied. So you got 3 that I would call satisfied and 3 that I would call dissatisfied, with obviously different gradients in there as to how satisfied or dissatisfied they are. So if you look at fiber, not surprisingly, they've got 93% satisfied, various levels. You can see there's a pretty good, in between 28 and 41, that's a good number that are completely to very satisfied. And then you get 7% unsatisfied, and it's, most people are, very few completely or very dissatisfied there. Then you've got satellite, and this is, I'm sure, a mixture, because I think they talked about Starlink, and I think they talk about Hughes and Viasat here in a minute, we'll see, but this is probably a mixture of satellite, although, because I think it would be higher. I think satellite would score close to fiber, again, because of the fact that so many people are thrilled to have what they have when they can get it. They're not necessarily thrilled with their geosynchronous satellite from a Hughes or a Viasat, because it's not that fast. The latency is pretty bad, the latency. So if they had it and that's all they get, and they haven't tried Starlink, maybe they're pretty happy with it. But I think most of this is probably coming from Starlink users. So you can see here again, you've got now 83%. It's nice and high, 83%, and then 16% unsatisfied. I think it'd be even higher if that was just Starlink. But I think there's probably some Hughes and Viasat in there. Satisfied for 5G. So here there's a 5G and a cellular. So I don't know what Consumer Reports, I don't know how they asked the question here. I guess you'd have to look at the report, or maybe it's not even in there. So I would not be surprised if this is a combination category somehow here between maybe mobile users, and because it's not supposed to be mobile users, but you've got 5G and you've got cellular. So 5G, most of the people that are going to be getting 5G are going to be getting it through a cellular carrier like T-Mobile or Verizon or AT&T. Cellular could be mobile internet, although I don't think people were supposed to answer unless maybe that's all they have is mobile internet. So again, I'm not sure what's going on here. But you can see for 5G, people are very satisfied. The second highest here, 88% satisfied. I shouldn't say they're very satisfied. I mean, in general, they're more satisfied. 88%, and then unsatisfied 12%. Then you get your cellular, 85%, unsatisfied 15%. Again, I don't know if that's all fixed wireless or how that works. DSL, I'm surprised at how many people kind of fall within the satisfied range here. You can see that somewhat satisfied is the highest for that category, for that particular type of service, and you've only got 9% that are very satisfied. I'm surprised there's 9% people that are very satisfied. They must be right near the D-slam and are getting fairly decent speeds and have had good luck with their provider. Because again, it could be a small telephone company that's providing DSL service, so they get good service, and maybe the pricing is not expensive because it's not very fast, those kinds of things. But so 70% satisfied, 29% unsatisfied. And then surprisingly, I've got here cable modem service at not that much higher. It's the lowest, it's right behind DSL, or right in front of DSL is the least favorite. So you got satisfied 80% with, again, 40% falling in that somewhat satisfied category. So people aren't that thrilled with it. Unsatisfied 22%. Now, some of this could be kind of a bias towards large operators like XFinity and Charter who were surveyed on here. Because if you're going to be interviewing 45,000 people, I suspect that's what that is. So if you've got that many people, a good chunk of those people are going to be in areas that have got service from the large cable MSOs, because the large cable MSOs do have the vast majority of the market share of internet or broadband service across the country. So you're going to be hitting a lot of those people that have XFinity, that have Charter, that have Cox, and that could be why the satisfaction levels are not good. And most likely they've had reliable service, but again, it's that ding that the cable companies get that they're just not very good at what they do. Plus, again, maybe they don't have good support. Maybe their billing is off. Maybe people don't like the fact that they have a certain price, and then the price goes up every year, or they got a promotional price and then it goes way up, and then they got to call and try to get a lower price. So I think I think it's not so much about the technology here. It's maybe about the company and the type of company. Again, large operators, probably more people hitting the large cable operators than they are hitting, let's say, a more smaller regional to even state fiber operator kind of thing. So I think that's what we're seeing here. It's not so much that cable modem is as bad as DSL service as far as the technology. I would expect that's what we're seeing. So let's read further here. So conversely, 5 ISPs received our worst ratings. These include Altice, which offers Optimum and Suddenlink branded services; Brightspeed, which took over former CenturyLink customers in rural and suburban communities in 20 states. And some of this could be, I know these guys, obviously, they're doing, Altice, I think, have been doing fiber, trying to get DSL, that was CenturyLink. No, I'm sorry, it's Brightspeed that's CenturyLink, but I think some of these guys took over some DSL networks and are trying to get them up to speed with fiber, and that could be part of that. So you got Brightspeed took over CenturyLink customers in rural and suburban communities in 20 states. Kinetic by Windstream. Kinetic's been rolling out, they were big DSL operators, so some of that could be DSL. They've been trying to roll out fiber. Here in Georgia, they've been working with a lot of electric co-ops in areas, trying to, partnering with them to be able to do fiber to large areas that are, I think, were DSL before. So they're trying. Now, I don't know how much of that is the fact that these could be DSL customers that are scoring them, or if they just don't have good customer service, could fall in there. You got 2 satellite internet providers, Viasat and HughesNet. So there are some, as we saw in that those satisfaction and the bar graphs there are some people that have Viasat and HughesNet, and there were enough of them that they could tell they were not happy. And as we saw, the overall satellite scores were good. But again, I think you've got Viasat and HughesNet that probably drag that down some. And you've got Starlink that is, for those people that are very satisfied, that are going to be, those are going to be the Starlink customers. All except for Optimum received our worst marks for all attributes across the board. Traditional satellite broadband providers such as HughesNet and Viasat, which send signals from space, have traditionally fared poorly in CR's telecom surveys. Starlink uses a newer technology that employs an array of small satellites in a much lower orbit around the Earth, enabling them to offer faster speeds and lower latency, the latter term referring to the amount of time it takes for the service to respond to an action or command. So yeah, latency is how long it takes a signal to get from you to the servers and back to you again, kind of thing, your round trip speeds. And low Earth orbit satellites, if I recall, 400 miles in space versus 20,000 plus 26,000, something like that for geosynchronous satellites. So big difference there as far as latency. And it doesn't take long for signals to travel through space. That's something that's good. But if you've got that big of a distance, then it makes a big difference there. Still few choices among providers. One reason, and this is surprising that they say this, one reason for the low satisfaction scores may be that people have few options for internet providers. About 1 in 5 CR members who subscribe to an internet service, one that isn't part of a bundle, said their current ISP was their only option. Another 21% said they had only 2 companies to choose from. That does not seem like that bad to me, honestly, because here you see number of available internet service providers. So you got 23% and have 1, but everybody else, that means almost 80% have at least 2 internet service providers to choose from. Now, I think this has probably changed quite a bit in the last couple of years, because if you take out T-Mobile and Verizon, AT&T, and their 5G fixed wireless services that they're now spreading across the country, especially T-Mobile, if that would be thrown in here, so that would be your second provider in a lot of these areas. So you might have a cable operator or a fiber operator, and then you got 1 or more of the fixed wireless, maybe cellular-based fixed wireless operators, 5G operators that are in there. So that's right there, 2 people you can choose from. So that makes a tremendous difference. If you've got 2 providers that are competing for you, that's going to improve the service that you're going to get from them. That's going to lower your price. Then you see 3, 4, 5, 6. So, if you got 3 here, this is most likely a fiber provider, a cable provider, and then a fixed wireless 5G provider like a T-Mobile coming in there. So I wouldn't say still few choices among providers. I think this has gotten a lot better, and this is not bad. If you can see here that you've got almost 80% of the country that's got, I shouldn't say that, 80% of the people that answered the survey have got more than 1 provider. That's a good thing. More than 1 in 5 people in our survey now have a fiber optic internet connection, but the majority, 54%, still get their internet via cable modem. So again, that's not that surprising. It's probably higher across the country because, again, cable modem, I think the market share of cable modem service is higher than 54% if you were to look at it across the country. But here in the survey, 54% still get their internet via cable modem. We're also seeing more members, 9%, who get 5G home internet service, and we expect that number to grow. That'll grow some. I expect it not to grow that much more because as there's going to be more and more focus on getting unserved and underserved locations served, they're going to be going to fiber. And as they go to fiber, people that have fixed wireless are going to be dropping that service. People that have DSL obviously will be dropping that service. There won't be as many people dropping cable modem service because most of those areas are already considered served because cable modem can provide or should be able to provide well over 100 by 20 service. So who's really going to be seeing their numbers drop when, for example, the BEAD money starts rolling, or any bills that are happening now due to RDOF or ARPA or USDA Reconnect kinds of things. If they're going into unserved areas and people have a satellite service or a fixed wireless service or certainly a DSL service, those are going to be taking the hit as far as market share. Bundle grumbles. Despite the growing number of people cutting ties with their traditional TV services, such as cable and satellite TV, bundles, plans that package internet along with TV and or phone service continue to be popular. About 60% of CR members said they received internet as part of a bundle. However, they don't always like it. We didn't ask about bundled services in our most recent survey. However, in 2022, no bundle provider received a favorable overall satisfaction score. Only 31% of members were completely or very satisfied with their bundle providers, and 26% were dissatisfied. That could be, again, a bias towards those who might be more likely to provide a bundle service, which would be the big cable MSOs, where you can get, of course, cable TV, right? A broadband service, phone service. Then you can also get mobile service through them. Generally, it's not their network; they're doing a virtual mobile network through another provider. But those are most likely to have the bundles, so that may again be a bias there towards people that they just don't like those companies anyway. So it's a bundled service they get. Every single provider received our worst mark for value. Every single provider received our worst mark for value, even though there was a $100 difference between the cheapest median price paid at the time, $114 per month, from Kinetic by Windstream, and the highest, $218 from Cox. I'm assuming this is talking about the bundle service. RCN and Consolidated Communications were the only bundle providers to receive a passable score on any measure for customer service. About 2/3 of members with a three-way bundle plan reported having at least one negative experience with their service. Three-way, I'm assuming, is probably the triple play of data, voice, and video. For example, a third found that the cost increased significantly after the initial promotional period ended on their contract. Yes, people hate that. And 23% had difficulty getting customer service on the phone. Again, that's an issue. If people don't like customer service, if they can't get technical support, or if they've got a billing question, they can't get somebody on the phone, that is not good for satisfaction, and that is a reason people will leave. You need to remember this, okay? I'm telling you. If you're an internet service provider and you're providing a good connection, a reasonable connection, but you have lousy service, technical support, whatever, if a competitor comes in, people are going to be more likely to leave you than if you have good internet service and good technical support. They're much less likely. People need a reason to leave. You don't want to give them a reason, and bad customer service is a reason for them to leave. It says here it pays to haggle. Big takeaway from past CR surveys is that when it comes to internet, TV, and phone bundles, it pays to haggle. We didn't update this question in our latest survey, but in 2022, nearly 70% of people who tried negotiating succeeded in getting a discount or other benefit. Again, this is leaning heavily on the big, large cable MSOs who have the promotional pricing, and then they will raise your rate, and you got to call them up to haggle with them, and they usually will say, yeah, we don't want to lose you as a customer, because they don't, because really the longer they keep you as a customer, the more profitable you are. Because when they first bring you on, if you only stayed on for a couple of months, you're not a profitable customer to them, because they, it's just a cost in bringing somebody on. Now, if they provide good service, they shouldn't have to worry about that. If you provide good connection, good customer support when the customer calls, especially most people are going to call in the first month or two when they have the service. If you can do that well, people are going to stay with you. But if you don't, they want to leave, which is why you need to lock them into a long-term contract, and then they're not happy, and then the price goes up and they're really not happy. Of those, about a third received a lower price and/or got a new promotional rate. 14% were able to get a faster broadband speed, and nearly 10% received additional premium channels like HBO or Showtime, or an extension of their original promotional rate. In fact, some hagglers walked away with multiple perks. So again, they want to keep you as a customer. If you're willing to do that, if you're willing to really walk away, you might get even more. A lot of times I think these additional perks that people get is when they're really planning on walking. So it's like, no, I'm tired of it. I don't want to do this again. I'm going somewhere else. Well, okay, we'll give you the promotional rate again. No, I'm really tired of this. I want to know that my price is going to be good. Well, we'll give you a promotional rate. We'll give you HBO and Showtime free for 6 months. And we'll give you something else for a year, kind of thing. So that's kind of how that works. AT&T, Comcast, XFinity, Cox, and Optimum customers were the most likely to get a promotional rate when they asked for one. According to the 2022 survey, bundle customers who negotiated with Charter Spectrum were the least likely to get a lower price. And again, this was all from 2020, so not sure how that's changed. So not a lot of surprises in there. I think hopefully I was able to provide some context there. As I look at these things, I can see certain areas where I think this is why this is scored high, this is why this is scored low. But in general, again, I think people are pretty happy with their connection, because there's more competition, as we saw. Almost 80% or so have at least one provider that they can get an internet service from. Therefore, they're going to be able to be switching, and those service providers want to make sure that they're providing a good connection, and then hopefully good support, technical support, customer service. Again, there's a large, I think, bias towards the larger operators here, which can throw those numbers off a little bit. And let me say one more time, so you see our contact info here. If you are an internet service provider and would like to look at how you can augment your technical support, or even if you're getting in the business, I know we have a lot of people that pull up this channel when they're getting into the internet business. Maybe it's an electric co-op or a municipality that is going to be looking at getting funding and wanting to start a business. We can help you there. There's all kinds of things we can do if you're getting in the business. We can make your life so much easier, less expensive to provide service to folks. You'll have better satisfaction from your customers. So check us out, zquorum.com. And one of those things that we can help with is internet help desk services or technical support. And again, we do not rate our folks on how quickly they get people off the phone. They are rated on how satisfied the customers are, because we send a satisfaction survey to every single customer that calls our call center, and then we look at that and we make sure that we're doing a good job. We even call people if they have a negative on anything that we've done for them, whether it was the person friendly and knowledgeable, were they able to solve your problem. If any of those things are negative, we call and try to find out. A supervisor calls and tries to find out what went wrong so we can learn from that. Or sometimes we find out it wasn't us. It was actually maybe our customer or the internet service provider didn't get the truck rolled in time, those kinds of things. But if it's us, it gives us an option or an opportunity to go ahead and resolve that. Maybe it's a new representative, that kind of thing. So we take it very seriously. That's how we provide support to our customers, because we treat the customer like they're our own customer. That's the easiest way. And we treat them like we want to be treated. That's the easiest way to make sure that you're doing a good job if you're going to be doing tech support for internet subscribers. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. If you like this video, if you give me a thumbs up, I would like that. And if you're not subscribed to our channel, click the subscribe button. Make sure the little bell is highlighted there to get notifications. And then you'll find out when I'm on live. You get a little pop-up there. You don't need to watch, but you can at that point. Appreciate you joining me today, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.